So you want to know how druids have changed in D&D 5.5. Whether you're making a new character or trying to port over an old one, I've combed over everything that's been changed so you don't have to. Cantrip versatility from Tasha's is, like with all spellcasters, better and base kit, and your core traits have gotten worse. Losing medium armor and switching from a collection of specific weapons to the blanket simple weapons, which means you lost scimitars, and I just don't think great clubs are making up for that. However, that's not actually a problem because you gained Primal Order. Pick between gaining medium armor back and martial weapons, or an extra cantrip and adding wisdom to arcana and nature checks, as opposed to the religion checks from Cleric's Divine Order, which is literally the only difference. Druidic is unchanged, thank God, how would we cope? Wild Shape is broadly the same, only one decently sized change, but a bunch of smaller ones. You get more uses as you level up. It's a bonus action to use and leave shape now, which was the best part of Moon Druid. You only get one use back on short rest, there's no limit on swim speed. You keep your creature type for some fucking reason, no one's going to remember that and they shouldn't, it's bad. You can talk as an animal, you keep your health now instead of taking the animals, but you do get a chunk of temp health. And the big one, you only know a limited number of shapes at a time, swapping one out at a time on long rest. A change written by people who have been trying to kill Wild Shape for over a decade and have had players yelling at them to stop for just as long. Professional opinion? Just ignore this part. It's annoying and frustrating and useless because if Wild Shape is going to be a problem, it's going to be a problem with only 4 creatures, let alone 8. At level 2, Wild Companion comes over from Tasha's, probably because subclass is level 3 now, letting you use a Wild Shape charge to cast Find Familiar without material. Though you can use a spell slot for it now, and it lasts until your next long rest, not half your druid level number of hours. Wild Resurgence is new. Once per turn, you can burn a spell slot to get a use of Wild Shape back, and once per day can burn a Wild Shape charge to get a first level spell slot back. Elemental Fury is new and yanked from Cleric, but that's fine. Do you remember how few features Druid got? Before level 18, it was exactly 1, and unlike with Cleric, Druid isn't losing this from their own subclasses, making it a pretty substantial buff. You pick either Primal Strike to give 1 attack per turn bonus cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, which, why doesn't this work with unarmed strikes? Like, I know the answer is they fucked up the rules text, but if it's so good for Druid. Or potent spellcasting, which is literally identical to Cleric, adding Wisdom mod to cantrip damage. Then with improved Elemental Fury, while your strikes get the basic damage increase to 2d8, your potent spellcasting gets the incredibly funny buff to increase the range of all your cantrips with a range greater than 5 feet to 300 feet. These spells now work with some material components, just not ones with cost or that are consumed. Same restrictions as a focus. Epic Boon is always a buff, and Archdruid no longer gives infinite Wild Shapes, just 1 when you roll initiative without any. And once per day, you can burn Wild Shapes to regain a spell slot whose level is 2 times the number of uses spent. And you're still a boomer. For the subclasses, 5.5 only has 4 per class, which means that Dreams, Shepherd, Spores, and Wildfire are missing. Fewest so far. Though you can still play as them, since WotC really wants you to believe this game is backwards compatible. And before we cover the ones that did make it to 5.5, a reminder that there are 8 more of these coming down the pipe, and with a channel my size, subscribing is really the only way to make sure you'll see them. Anyway, for Circle of the Land, your Circle of the Land spells were just called circle spells before. There are only 4 land options now, and they're much less specific. You're able to switch your choice after a long rest now, which is fantastic. Instead of picking an extra cantrip, you get one based on your land choice. And part of the spells being mostly different, since they're not from the same lands anymore, is that you only get 1 spell per level from level 5 onward. But if we compare the old Arctic to the new, almost identical Polar, you at least kept the good ones. Land's Aid replaces the dog shit Land Stride and swap with Natural Recovery, making it the level 3 feature. You can use a Wild Shape charge to basically cast Wither and Bloom, which is great, both because it's a very good spell that's not in the game anymore, and because as a spellcasting druid, you probably don't want to go losing your spellcasting by turning into a squirrel anyway. Natural Recovery is as stated level 6 now, and on top of keeping the spell slot recovery, now lets you cast one of your circle spells for free. And when 2 of them give you Fireball and Lightning Bolt, that encourages some very funny gaming. Nature's Ward kept the poison condition immunity, and you'd think lost the disease immunity, but you would be wrong, because again, the rules text is trash now. You did lose the Fey resist garbage, but got a damage resist based on your land choice instead. And Nature's Sanctuary kept the name, and absolutely nothing else. You create an area of half cover, plus 2 AC, for your allies, and give them your resistance from Nature's Ward. Note, the area has to be on the ground, and the line in the book for moving the area has what I have to assume is a typo, which is very funny. Circle of the Moon lost the ability to heal in Wild Shape, and technically the bonus action use time, but that's anyway because it's base kit now. The circle form CR looks different, but isn't. And it gained an AC of 13 plus wisdom if that's higher than the beast, which is great because it probably is. You also got new Circle of the Moon spells. Not just extra spells, but spells you can cast while wild shaped from level 3. It's good to see some respect paid to the old greats. Improved circle forms replaces the old primal strikes. While wild-shaped, instead of your attacks counting as magic for overcoming resistances, you can now deal radiant damage with them instead, which is at least much more flavorful. You can add wisdom to con saves now, which is fantastic given that nearly all your moon spells are concentration. Elemental wild shape is gone, Rip Bozo, you'll be missed, and replaced with Moonlight Step, a 30-foot bonus action teleport that also gives you advantage on your next attack, which you can do wisdom number of times a day unless you burn a second level or higher spell slot to regain a use. And finally, Lunar Form replaces the garbage myriad forms. You deal an extra 2d10 radiant damage on one beast hit per turn, and you can bring one willing creature with you when you teleport. Circle of the Sea is the new subclass for Druid. It gives you a bunch of spells including Lightning Bolt and Hold Monster. Tight. Wrath of the Sea lets you burn wild shape to create a 5-foot aura of Get Hit, bitch, which as a bonus action can throw people across the room and deal wisdom number of d6 damage. Not d6 plus wisdom. Wisdom number of d6, up to 5. Hits them with fucking lightning! Aquatic Affinity gives a swim speed, and oh yeah, increases Wrath of the Sea's Get Fucked aura to 10 feet. Stormborn, while Wrath of the Sea is up, you can fly and have a resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage. And with Oceanic Gift, you can see what a Gestalt character looks like in standard play by giving your Wrath of the Sea aura to someone else, so the Barbarian or Paladin or Fighter can fuck shit up like they're two characters at once. But don't worry about losing out on your own feature. For 2 wild shapes, you can give it to both of you at once for double the fun and double the violence. And finally, Circle of the Stars is very simple because it's barely changed at all. Ready? The only difference with Star Map is that you can cast Guiding Bolt for free based on wisdom, not proficiency. Starry Form is unchanged. Cosmic Omen uses wisdom instead of proficiency for uses and says D20 test instead of attack roll, ability check, or save, and I don't know if those are different. Twinkling Constellations is unchanged, and Full of Stars is unchanged. This is absolutely the least fucked with part of 5.5 so far, and that's very good. This subclass has always been great, which leaves a final rating for the changes of 9 out of 10. It was 9.5. But I thought about the wild shape changes some more, and they're just too foul for that. Everything else is perfect. The base kit additions are fantastic, and the subclass changes, or lack thereof, are even better. But a lot of the fun in Druid was the freedom and creativity that's killed completely when you're limited to barely half a dozen options. It's not like it's fixing any power issues. Pick any broken animal you want, 5.5 still gets it, and is actually incentivized to use it more now, since it's probably your only big tough animal, because why would you waste the space having 2 of them when you need that spot for a fast flyer or a burrower or mount-sized swimmer or something? On top of needing to prep it all in advance, which quite obviously will kill any in-the-moment improvisation. God, I hate this change. It's at least super easy to fix. Just ignore it and let your players pick any animal they want. But I'm not going to give WotC points just because their fuck-up is easy to fix. Especially since if you liked Druids because of the freedom it gave you, and your DM is a stickler for rules as written, the Druid changes are a lot lower than a 9. But let me know what you think. Do you think the limited wild shape option is a good thing, or do you actually like Druids? And if you want to hear the full story of WotC's continued wild shape hate and my other expanded thoughts on the class changes, you can find them on my Patreon, along with the next video in this series, which you'll get 1 week early. Plus, you'll get your name next to these amazing patrons, so you'll have video proof that you invested at under 500 subs. Till next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and bye-bye.